Alright, so this is a 2018 edition Specialized Turbo Kenevo Trolley Designs edition. Apparently there was only 500 of these made, and there was 5 of them sold in this little town that I live in here in New Zealand, which is 1% of all of these made, and it's a small town even by New Zealand standards, so it's a bit weird. But anyway, the bike. So I, like many of you guys I would imagine, was particularly skeptical about e-bikes. I thought they were a bit stupid, cheating for lazy people, etc, etc. But that was before I rode one and realised that it's just not the case, even remotely. It's actually perfect for where I live, because I live basically at the foot of these hills which have incredible mountain bike tracks all over them, but rather weirdly, no gondola, chairlift or even shuttle track. You can't get vehicle access to these hills no matter what. So probably about 1,000 times throughout my life I've pushed a heavy downhill bike up these hills just to come back down, and eventually you get pretty sick of that. So for me, in my particular area, this was absolutely the best alternative. But I'll explain to you guys why. Even if you have a chairlift or a gondola or a shuttle track nearby at your local mountain bike tracks, this will still be better, and it's for no other reason than fun. I thought this would just make the trip up slightly less unbearable, but it actually has made it one of the funnest parts of the ride. And that's because instead of sitting on your ass on the way up in a van like you usually are when you're shuttling, you're getting the full riding experience, and it's so fast on turbo mode at least, which is the full power mode, that you actually have to brake for these hairpin corners. Right up. So before we got this bike, I wouldn't even bother with this track. I'd just push straight up the forest road because it was the most direct way up and the fastest if you're walking. This is the track that you're supposed to cycle up, but of course on a downhill bike you can't do that. So I had never actually seen the top half of this track. So we got this, and it's a great, as if it was designed with these things in mind. I imagine most cycle tracks up mountain ranges would be the same on an e-bike, just so much fun. Boosting around underneath their speed limiter, which I think on this is 32 kilometers per hour. So you always got electric power as long as you're turning the cranks. And the other reason this thing's so great as well, I think at least, is that there's a track up the very top of these hills, and I've never done it in my whole life until we had this bike, because there's another track right beside it that I know well and I know is good. So I would always see this track that I'd never ridden before and not bother with it based on the fact that I knew the other one was good and that one could potentially be crap and a waste of an incredible effort to push a big heavy downhill bike up a hill. Like when you're a kid and you always watch the same movie over and over again because you know that one's going to be good, and if you watch another one you're not entirely sure. It takes a while before you understand the value in watching a new movie. That's how I felt with this bike. So I've since done that track, and it's actually a great track, but it has a tree falling across it, so I won't bother with it. I'll just show you guys the top of it. But yeah, if they ever clear that tree anytime soon, that'll be awesome. It's like so steep and so gnarly compared to anything else up on this hill. Another reason these things are worth buying is the wheelies, obviously. Power wheelies, and you just go forever. And as you guys can hear, I'm puffing a little bit too, just because how fast you want to get up the hill on these things is actually entirely up to how much extra power you put in on top of the electric motor yourself. So I'm pedaling relatively hard on top of the electric motor right now and really boosting up this hill, whereas you could just go a lot slower than this and let the electric motor carry you up, or if you were really fit you could even go a lot faster than this. It's kind of awesome in the sense that you get as much exercise on one of these things as you want. It's totally up to you, which I'm sure a lot of people don't realise. I probably just think the electric motor just carries you to the top. It's absolutely not the case unless you go catastrophically slow. And in spots like this it can actually be kind of hard to get up because you hit the cranks on the ground, which is not a problem motocross bikes suffer from. There you go, just got through there. You have to lean the bike right out over the bank so that you don't hit the inside crank on the ground and go flying down there, which, oh fuck, I nearly did. Another thing about this bike too is I've always wanted to wear my full face helmet when downhilling, just because I'd hate to crash with an open face helmet on a fast downhill section, but I've never been able to because it's far too hot. But no longer a problem. You've always got the wind rushing past you on this thing because you're always moving at a decent rate. So I've got my full face helmet on now, which also means that I can run a proper GoPro mount for you guys so that you can actually see the front wheel, which always makes for a better viewing experience. The only disadvantage, which most of you have probably guessed by now, is the weight. This thing does have a big battery in the frame, but it's only actually, I think this one weighs 24 kg, which is about double the weight of a normal mountain bike. So like, they're definitely heavy, but compared to a motocross bike, which I'd quite happily hit all of these downhill tracks on, they're light as hell. A motocross bike weighs sort of more like 110 kg, and you can go down some pretty nasty stuff on those. So 23 kgs with these big fat tyres is absolutely no problem at all. And the other thing is the little bit extra weight, especially with me coming from a motocross bike predominantly, I think it sort of makes the bike handle a bit better, to be honest. You can be a bit more careless with your line choice and just sort of hit shit rather than having to place your front wheel real precisely, which is what you have to do on a normal mountain bike because it's so light they just get caught up in the rocks and ruts and all that kind of shit. Nice tight steep hairpin here, we'll get a bit of speed going into it. Oh, that is so much fun and a lot steeper than you guys probably realise. Up, up. Really get some speed on here. Oh, I hit the speed limiter there. The electric power backed off. It's incredible how much you notice it once it turns off. Up, up. God, that's good fun. And we're at the skid site, so we're about 2/3 of the way up now, and I don't know how long that was. Not long. A little fantail. G'day. Those are native to New Zealand. You Americans, dream on. Should probably not insult the majority of my audience. It's not wise. I love you Americans. I appreciate you watching. Give me those views so that I can eat. From here you can, I think the main way you're supposed to push bike up is go left here, and the road's quite flat. But over there somewhere, the next forestry block over is closed, so there's actually a closed gate there. So I'll just push up, or just bike up here rather. And this will give you a good idea of just how steeper things you can go up on these bikes, because this is usually the track that I'd push up, because again, it's so direct. But on this weapon you can actually bike all the way up it, which is, I think, is pretty amazing. And it's actually so steep that when I get into that where the hill hits you, I actually have to put the seat down, or else with the seat up you start looping out. As you can see, that's a wheelie right there. The wheel's barely off the ground. See how far I can wheelie up the hill. It's the weirdest feeling. That'll do. Right, seat down now so I don't loop out. That would be embarrassing. Loop out on a push bike. Hey. Up here somewhere it gets heaps steeper, and I actually have to like stand up and like lean right forward. It's pretty crazy, but because it's electric power, it's delivered so smoothly. There's so much traction even with this like mountain bike tyre. Of course you'd piss bowl up here on a motocross bike, but you'd also have the cops on your tail, which is this thing's secret weapon. You can take it literally anywhere and not attract any attention to yourself. Some wet rocks, this will give you guys a good idea of how much grip it's got. Look at that. It's astonishing to be able to crawl up something like that. Up here is where it gets genuinely quite gnarly. This is the hardest part, just as you go around this pine tree here. Whoa. There's a weight the back wheel going up there, else I was gonna spin out. That little town there, it's called Richmond, and it had 5 out of 500 of these Troy Designs editions. What? Drink bottle holder's always handy. It's got a cool little tool tucked behind it, which does every bolt on the bike, which is super handy. Check nothing loose while I got it out. Don't think so. I actually really like that. What a lovely day to be at the top of the hill. Certainly wouldn't be here with a normal bike because, well, there's no two ways about it. I couldn't be fucked. Whoop. So this is the top of that track I was telling you guys about, and I always do this because it leads right onto the top of Hang 10, which is the best track up here. But I'll show you guys the bit that I'd never done until a couple of days ago because I didn't have an electric mountain bike, and I'm lazy, but mainly because I didn't have an electric mountain bike. Alright. Oh, bit wet still. It is winter here in New Zealand. Oh. So this is the track I mentioned that I've never done until I got this bike. So as you can see, like, you can only see just that start corner and it looks good, but you're like, well, I know there's a sick track over there and this one could be crap after this first corner, so that's the reason I'd never done it. But like I said, I did it the other day, but there's a big fallen tree halfway down it, so it's actually not very good at the moment, but it's a cool track otherwise. Hopefully they clear that tree soon and we can get onto it, but for now we'll just hit Hang 10. This is the one I did in my vlog for those of you who watched it. It's the best track up here, it's sick. Ooh. Tell you one thing, the old man put sharper pedals on it, and I'm glad he did, because slipping off pedals is never fun, but they're so sharp that I spent half the time once I started downhill run adjusting my foot because it's in the wrong spot, and they're so grippy that you have to lift your whole foot off to adjust it. Maybe it's just a weird thing with me. Oh yeah. Whoop. Up. Oh. Jesus, that was fucking good. This is like the roughest bit of this whole track. Needs a bit of work, I think. It's just braking bumps, the intro. Electric power, special double. That double's usually pretty hard to clear if you don't have a fucking curve system like a Formula 1 car, like I do here today. Whew. Oh. This is the sketchiest bit of this whole track. These corners are so good. This thing has got a sketchy thing, it's hard to see. Look at this fucking whoop at the bottom of it. Wow. Oh, that track is so mean. So we'd usually just go down that track there, but I'm on an electric bike, so I'm just going to go back up and do the other track that I haven't done yet. I got a question for you guys, and if anybody could answer this, I'd be very impressed. But like, when I go downhill, it doesn't happen on a motocross bike, only on when I'm downhilling. I like it feels like I've bruised my elbow and I'm trying to ride, my right elbow. It feels like I've bruised it and I'm trying to ride with a bruised elbow. Like, you know that pain when you bruise something and you're trying to use it under a lot of load, and it just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like you're bruising it again. I always get that in my right elbow when I'm downhilling, but not when I'm riding a motocross bike. Is it just because I haven't stretched it, or what's the deal there? Oh, what's that E-Endruo from Star Wars? Some of you will get that reference. Might be a teddy bear jump out from behind a tree in a minute. So here we are back here, big skid, and this time we're going to go up this road. Feels more like trail riding than it does mountain biking. You just go a day if you want. How much? So I've used half battery, so I could do all of that again, and I could do even more if I just put it down one power level. I've done this whole thing on full power. So this is called Upper Terminus, and it's quite a fun track. Bit of tech for the boys. Bit of tree roots. Probably have a crash, to be honest. Ow. The electric power out of the corners is so much fun. Rup, 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 rup. Whoa. Whoa, we stacked it there. It's actually really hard to see in this contrasting light. Typical of New Zealand winter. The sun's really bright and the shadows are super dark. Oh, there's a jump here that I want to hit. I keep forgetting about that one the last few times. Whew. Oh, downhill wears you the fuck out for those of you who haven't done it before. It's like motocross pretty much, same sort of thing. You wouldn't think it, but it does. Slick down there. Whoa, fantail, loose. Now I can't see anything with that low sun. So here we are, back at the bottom of Hang 10. Another good view for the boys. What's this feel like? So there's the forks on. Whoa, each probably feels a bit better. Just mucking around the suspension. Never tried the firm setting. Certainly lands a lot better, but I don't think it's fucking working. I want to open. Super hard to see in here. Wow. Whoa. Oh, again, visibility really poor. We need a cloudy day for downhill. Going in and out of those shadows is so hard to see. So this used to be quite a well-ridden track called Leafy because, as you can see, it's got leaves all over it. But then for a while there was a sign up here saying don't ride down this sort of thing, so it got really overgrown and shit, and it still is, but the sign's no longer here, so I'm riding it again. Those people down the bottom there, I imagine they put the sign up. They get all shouty with you if they see you come out the bottom of it on their road, but they say, oh, did you not see the sign? Don't come down here on your bike. But there's no sign there, so until they put up a sign that says don't ride down here, I'm going to continue riding down here. And if they do put up a sign, I'm probably still going to continue riding down here, because why the fuck not? It's a sick track, even if it is overgrown. Overtaking, there's so many tree roots under these leaves, like, Oh, the bike's just dancing around. But the good news is the leaves hides them, so you don't overthink them. Whoa! And there's a ditch there. And geez, that could have been bad. Didn't actually do any damage. And I always do wheelies down here. I go one down on the power setting for wheelies, otherwise you have to drag the brake pretty hard. Wasn't very good. Up. Whoa! It's slick down there. It's these bastards here. Talk about a first world problem. Bikes riding down here. There it goes. I'll show you my wheelies. The guy at the bike shop actually said you're not supposed to be able to wheelie these, but for me they're heaps easier to wheelie. You don't have to pedal so hard. And then just manual once you're up. Easy work. Put off, why not? Around the corner. Oh. So much fun. And the last thing I want to touch upon just before I end this little first ride sort of a video is I know the main concern about these things is that they rack up the trails, but the reality of it is people who say they have never actually ridden one, like to get these things to wheel spin, they've got so much grip and so little power. To get them to wheel spin you have to be actively trying to do it. Like I didn't wheel spin the whole way out there except that top little section when I was on bedrock, and I'm not going to rip bedrock up, am I? So the idea that these things damage the trails is just a myth. So yeah, that's my take on the electric mountain bike. I hope I've sort of covered all the things that I meant to cover there, and I hope I've enlightened some of you guys about these things a wee bit. Basically all I'm getting at there is they get shunned by a lot of people who have never actually ridden one, and I think to come to any conclusions about these things you really need to have ridden one. As soon as you get on one you'll know what I mean. I think they're just a masterpiece and they're gonna be the norm soon, I reckon. They're too good not to be. What a piece of kit.